Wrexham have had a meteoric rise in recent years. New Hollywood owners Ryan and Rob have put the club on the map with not just a Disney Plus series, but also taking the team out of the National League into League 2 and then getting promoted from there into League 1, where they're now on the brink of the Championship. But it begs the question just how far this club can go. There's many that think they could reach the Premier League, but it's easier said than done. But today I'm going to step in as Wrexham manager and try and make that happen. But despite their recent success, it's not going to be easy. In fact, the gap between League 1 and the Championship is massive, and it's not like Wrexham have got a lot to fall back on in terms of facilities, a huge stadium, or anything like that. And when it comes to the English divisions, the club has struggled for success, with a League 1 title in the 70s being their best, and yes, they do have some Welsh trophies outside of that, but it's not like we've got a club here that used to win the Champions League and now find themselves struggling. They're already doing pretty good for what people would expect, but I'm going to try and take it further, and we've actually got some great players at the club already to make that happen. There's of course striker Paul Mullin, who is excellent for this level and guides Wrexham up top. Former Southampton superstar Jay Rodriguez is at the club. Whilst he is on the older side, 35-year-old James McLean looks to still have a lot of ability. Now, a lot of our best players are older heads that the club have bought in to just help get promoted, but there are still some good young talents that we really could build around for the future. 20-year-old fullback Sev Revan, formerly of Villa, looks a great talent. Former Arsenal keeper Arthur Onkonkwo looks a good talent too. And Lewis Brunt, formerly of Leicester, could be the key man at the base of our defence. So there's definitely some good players here, and despite the big fanfare around the club with the Hollywood owners, we're not exactly expected to find League 1 super easy. In fact, Football Manager predicts us to finish in 5th place with 11-1 odds of winning the title, so whilst we could potentially do well and get promoted, it looks like Birmingham and Huddersfield are heavy favourites to get that promotion spot, so we're going to have to be at our best if we want to make that happen, and we're likely going to have to make even more transfers than the club's made already. Thankfully though, that might be possible, because whilst it isn't exactly Premier League money, 200k of transfer budget and 10k of wage budget is a lot more than many League 1 clubs would have, and if I do the right things with that budget, maybe sell some players on, I think I could really make some changes to this team to take us to another level, but only time will tell what we can do in the first transfer window. And already, even with that limited budget, we've been able to make some moves I think really shore us up for a potential promotion push, but first I had to get some people out the door. Firstly, I let go of Ryan Barnett, a English 24-year-old who we've sold to Blackpool for a fee of £63,000. He joined Wrexham a few years back, but I just didn't really see a place for him in the new system that I'm going to play, so I've let him go. And the same for Jacob Mendy, a Gambian 27-year-old who looks to be a pretty versatile option, but realistically isn't at the level required, so we've sold him on to Stevenage for only £16,000. So nothing crazy, but it did allow us some more room to work in the transfer and wage budget, and with that money we were able to bring in 2 players that I think take us to another level. I started by bringing in the well-travelled free agent Jamaican international 32-year-old Michael Hector, who is going to add some great experience to our defence and some extra depth in a position where, you'll see in a second, we're going to need it. He is going to be the main man for us now, coming in from Charlton where he was let go on a free. We've now picked him up. He's got Championship history. He's been at Chelsea, Reading, Aberdeen. I mean, this guy's been everywhere. Frankfurt, out in Germany. What a career he's had, and hopefully this Wrexham step is the next chapter in what will hopefully be a good end to his career. But that wasn't enough for me in the centre-back slot, so I've picked up another option in Josh Grant. Again, a Jamaican player. He's 25 years of age, can play with both feet, and is a good option for this level, with potential to get better still. He comes in after being let go by Bristol Rovers. Again, a former Chelsea man, but someone that in that centre-back spot will come in and offer his cover, and as we rise up the leagues, hopefully someone like Josh Grant can grow with the club instead of having to switch these players out every single transfer window. So I didn't exactly go crazy in the transfer window, and there will certainly be more to come in future seasons when we've got bigger budgets to work with, but Wrexham have already made a lot of their transfer business this window, so we were limited, but this is what we're left with as our best 11, and as you can see, we are playing a 5-back shape without any actual wingers, only our wing backs, and then we've got 2 strikers. It's not the kind of tactic I've ever used before. It's a pretty basic one. I haven't adjusted any instructions, just the roles, but this is what is considered our best 11 if we were to play this shape. In goal is Okonkwo, who we've met. We then got Egan O'Connell, the Irish 28-year-old, as one of our best defenders, alongside 29-year-old Englishman George Evans and Michael Hector, who of course we bought in ourselves. 24-year-old Luke Bolton is considered our best right wing back, with Seb Revan, who we've met, in the opposite slot, and then the midfield 2 is supposedly George Dobson, and then our other other best one to go alongside him is Thomas O'Connor, a 25-year-old Irishman, with Elliot Lee in front of them, aged 29, Paul Mullin and James Rodriguez offering that star quality up top playing together. There's still some good players in the squad we haven't even covered, like Jack Marriott, formerly of Derby, and I actually think we've got a very good chance this season if we can just make it click with this system. But it seems like the game doesn't really rate our transfers, because we're actually predicted less than we were before the transfer window. Maybe other teams have strengthened too. We're now predicted to finish in 6th place, 12-1 odds, but I'm going to try and prove those odds wrong. We know Wrexham have rose up the leagues in recent seasons, and we'll be hoping in season 1 we can already make it to the Championship. And in our first season with Wrexham, I've got to say, it started pretty slow. In fact, in the first 6 games, we only won 1, and it looked like it was going to be a struggle of a season and a real reality check for the club. But as the year went on, we started to pick up some great results. One of our best ones came away to Reading, where a Paul Mullin hat-trick helped us in a massive 7-1 victory over the club. Late in the season, we managed to get a great result against fellow promotion contenders Bolton as we beat them 3-1. And against Charlton, we stuck in 4 goals with no reply. And our late season form really helped us this year and got us off to possibly the best start we could have asked for, because already we have managed to get promoted to the Championship. Now, granted, I think that's probably a little bit expected of Wrexham, and it's now in the Championship where the real issues might dawn upon us, but we had a great year. 85 points, 2 points less from eventual winners Birmingham, and actually we had the same amount of points as Bolton, who managed to get promoted through the playoffs. We were clearly the best 3 teams, so it makes sense that all 3 of us went up. As you can see, Paul Mullin, Luke Bolton and Jay Rodriguez, 3 of our best players this year. Mullin with a ton of goals, the strike partnership with Rodriguez working perfectly, and whilst we haven't secured the title, I am not bothered at all, because we are going to the Championship. In our first year, we've achieved goal number 1, and now with 4 years to go, we want to aim for the Prem. But it begs the question, which players do we build around and who do we move on? The Championship will be a whole nother level, but it looks like Paul Mullin, Bolton, Okonkwo, all are players that we could maybe build around for the next few years. Jay Rodriguez, I would say the same about, but getting older, he's not exactly going to be relied upon long term. We had some good performances from Lewis Brunt, Josh Grant as well, and Elliot Lee, who is very good in the attacking midfield position. And I really can't ask for too much more, to be honest. In terms of best goal scorers, you can see it mainly did come from Mullin and Rodriguez, so we might need to buy some backups for those guys in case they ever get injured. So overall, I've got to say, I will definitely take this as a good first season, but this is where the real challenge begins. We head into the Championship with a budget of 819k, not massive, but not terrible. We have got plenty of wage budget though, so maybe we can wrangle that around and bring in some free agents. Either way, this club is not yet ready to survive in the Championship, so we're going to need some big signings if we're going to make that happen. And I said we needed a big transfer window if we were to survive this year in the second tier, and I think we've definitely had a big one, so strap yourselves in. Before we get into it though, if you could show me your support, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, whatever you could do, it really does help me out here on the channel. If we could hit 750 likes, that would be amazing, and we're on the road to 50k subs, so if you enjoy this, you'll likely enjoy everything else that we've done and everything that we've got to come as well. So thanks for any support guys, I really do appreciate it, and it is a massive help to me. But let's move into the sales, where we sold on 3 players for an actual transfer fee. The first one was a very minimal deal, Callum Burton making a move to Championship side Fulham. They're now in the same league as us, but they offered £29,000 to take him off our hands. For me, I just wanted to free up the wage bill because he was our 3rd choice keeper and we didn't need him anymore. A little bit higher in value was our move away for Jake Bickerstaff, who has moved to Leyton Orient out in League 1. He's moved for £44,000, and that could potentially go up to 100k with add-ons. Now, he came through the Wrexham Academy, so it is a sad loss, but realistically, nowhere near good enough for our level now. But our biggest sale was one that quite surprised me. We have moved on Sam Smith to Plymouth. No, not the singer. He is a striker that we have sold for £1.7 million to the Championship side. Now, why they wanted him specifically, I don't really know, because last year he played 5 starts, 19 off the bench and scored 4 goals, so to get nearly £2 million for him is brilliant business on our end, and that basically paid for the transfers I'm about to show you. But before we see them, if you enjoyed enjoy this rebuild and you'd like to give it a go yourself, you can actually find it on my Patreon, linked in the description. Over there, to be honest, it's the best way to support me as a creator. You guys are over there already. It really does help, so thank you for that. Obviously, it allows me to pay for editor, thumbnail designer, and helps me keep this going on a more regular basis, particularly with a delay now to FM20, but it's not FM25 anymore, but FM26. So thank you to all the patrons. For anyone that joins over there, not only do you get the save files for all these rebuilds, but you get to watch the videos early and ad-free, and also there's rebuild polls where you can vote for what rebuild you guys want to see next. And yeah, it really does mean a lot for you guys that are on there already, so a big thank you. But let's go see who we bought in. Firstly, I've gone and signed Rico Richards as an extra option in that attacking midfield spot. He's a 21-year-old with a little bit of potential, formerly of West Brom and Villa. Last season was out on loan at Port Vale, didn't exactly do amazing, but our scouts see potential and we've got to trust them. I then felt like we needed another option up front as mentioned last season, so I went out and bought Maktar Guai, who was a 27-year-old Senegalese forward, formerly of Blackburn, who they spent 2 million quid on, never used, and then he was on the transfer list for 28k. No idea what's happened with him, but I'm not going to look it in the mouth. I'm just going to go for it. He scored goals in Belgium. Maybe as an option here in the Championship, he'll do a good job. But again, I still felt like we weren't complete enough up top, particularly with Jay Rodriguez now no longer at the club, so I've bought in 21-year-old Nigerian forward Ademola Ola Adibomi, who we have picked up from Crystal Palace for 300k. Spent last season out on loan in the Belgian leagues, where he scored 9 goals in 21, but did play very well. He was on the transfer list at Palace, so to get him for 300,000, I think is a bargain for a player that's now valued at about £1.5 million. But my biggest signing was a new centre-back, one for the long term, whose image here that I've got in this face pack is really not doing him justice, I don't think. This is Stefan Negru, a 23-year-old Moldovan international who's got 7 appearances for his nation, comes in as a big reputation player, and we have picked him up for 2.1 million from Oxford United. They signed him from Shelbourne, loaned him out to Salford where he did pretty well, and whilst it is a big deal for Wrexham and our biggest in our history, I'm hoping we can build around him long term in this defence. And already within one season, this team is looking different from what we initially inherited. In goal, Okonkwo keeps his place, and he developed very nicely last season actually, and at 23 is one of the better young goalkeepers in the English divisions. We've still got O'Connell at the back. Josh Grant now comes in alongside him as one of our best defenders, and then Will Boyle, I don't know why he's in there. Realistically, that'll be Michael Hector. If not Michael Hector, then Lewis Brunt as some of our best defensive players. Luke Bolton and Revan continue as our best wing backs, as do Dobson and O'Connor in the midfield, but now going forward, it's Elliot Lee, Paul Mullin, and then Ola Adibomi comes in as one of our best forward players, so fingers crossed he can live up to expectation and do well in the Championship. In terms of our club, the board only want us to fight bravely against relegation, which is Football Manager's way of saying we're okay if you get relegated, we're expecting it, and the game does predict us bottom position, 24th place, 200 to 1 odds of winning the title. We've had Everton, Bournemouth and Fulham join us here in the Championship. Meanwhile, Birmingham, who have just been promoted, have jumped all the way to an 11th place prediction. I wish that was us, but for now, we're going to give it our best shot. We're in the Championship, we want to stay here, and then hopefully we can build up as the years go by and make this club a potential Premier League team. And Season 2 was nowhere near as glamorous as Season 1. It wasn't an instant promotion to the Premier League or anything like that. We were definitely humbled a little bit as we came up to the Championship. One of the most upsetting results we had to deal with was a home match against Oxford United, who managed to beat us 4-0. It wasn't just them who demolished us though. Everton also managed to put plenty of goals past us in what was a heavy loss. But thankfully it wasn't all doom and gloom, because a lot of our heroes from the last season managed to chip in this year too, like Elliot Lee, who was crucial in a big win against Sheffield Wednesday, and also right wing back Luke Bolton, who managed to get us a brilliant away victory against the mighty Sunderland. So as you can tell, pretty mixed form. We took some heavy defeats now and then, but we also did okay when called upon, and it led to what was a decent finish in 14th place. Considering we were predicted to go down rock bottom, it's a brilliant result. Now, is it totally unexpected for the Championship? No, things like this can happen in this division. We did lose more than we won, but we still managed to do pretty well. 62 points, 18 wins, and 8 draws. Now, we definitely had spells where we were terrible, and then some spells where we were really good, but either way, I'm not complaining with this. We managed to survive in the Championship, we can build on from here, we got a positive goal difference, we won some games, and we did better than some teams that would have been expected to do far better than us. And it's nice to see that the system we're playing is working, because our best player this year was actually our wing-back, Luke Bolton, who you wouldn't expect to do so well based on his attributes, but he's doing great. Paul Mullin took the step to the Championship nicely as he scored 17 goals in all comps, and there was 19 as well from Ola Adebomi, who had a brilliant first year in a Wrexham shirt. Okonkwo continued to be brilliant in the net for us too, and Seb Revan was fantastic at left wing-back and is developing into a very nice player, now valued at £10 million. And this team is really starting to come along nicely. In fact, if you look at the transfer values of the players we've got, there's quite a lot of players now who could fetch us a pretty penny. In fact, some of them over £10 million or so, in theory, if we got the maximum valuation. So we are building a good squad here, but it's still not good enough. Going into Season 3 though, we've got a nice little budget, but it's actually less than we had last season. So again, I think if we want to do anything here, we're going to have to make some sales to really get the ball rolling. And it's now our third year as manager of Wrexham. We've kind of got used to the players here, and at this point, we don't necessarily need massive wholesale changes. We just need to solidify the core of players that we have, add some extra quality, and hopefully start to push up the league. But first, of course, we had to let some players go, and the first one to leave was Ian O'Connell, who has gone to play for Parma in the Italian divisions. He leaves for 235k. I didn't want him anymore. He was getting low in his contract, and I thought, you know what, let's let him go and get some better quality in. So the Irishman has been a good servant, but it's time to go. And there was only one other major sale that got us a ton of money, and it was George Dobson. The English 28-year-old has gone to play for Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga. Good luck to him, but we got £2.8 million from him, and that is not a fee that I'm going to reject for a player that realistically might not even be championship level. But I think the players that we bought in through the door definitely were. We have a new backup goalkeeper in the form of Paul Nardi, a French 32-year-old who has been all around the block really, Belgium, France and QPR too, where he hasn't been great, but look, as a second option in goal, it doesn't really matter. Dylan Williams, the former Chelsea man, offers us some great depth now in that left wing back spot where there'll be some real competition for Revan. He played at Blackburn last season, did pretty well in the Championship, so clearly he has got that ability, and I'm hoping he'll settle in nicely here. We got a bit of a coup in signing a Nigerian international 25-year-old Feseo Deli Bashiru on a free. He's been playing his football out in Turkey, but was once at Man City and Sheffield Wednesday. He had a great season out in Turkey last season, so now we really want him to step up in the Championship. Nigeria legend and former Watford captain William Troost Ekong is going to be a new centre-back option for us as well. We have bought him in on a free deal, having been let go by Saudi Arabian side Al Kholoud. He is a player that, yes, is past his prime years, but still is going to offer us a lot of leadership in that defence. And then my final signing is a legend of the Championship, Pele Ruduk Mpanzu, who, if you don't know, is the guy that was with Luton all the way from the National League into eventually the Premier League, and we'll be hoping that he can do a similar job here with Wrexham, taking us from the Championship, moving into the Prem and being a good player for us there. And we're at a point now, 3 years in, where this starting 11, what is considered our best, is starting to look a little bit unrecognisable from what we initially had. Now granted, the keeper stays, but the back three are all players we've bought in. One of the wing backs is also one of our signings, but the midfield two still stay the same, as does Elliot Lee, Paul Mullin and Ola Adebomi. But realistically, I think if we're actually looking at quality, it's probably going to be Deli Bashiru in that position, and then Mpanzu is going to be better than Lewis Brunt in that midfield spot as well. So I would say that would be my best 11 currently. Maybe even Revan would be over Dylan Williams at this current moment, but we've got a very good squad that is starting to change and starting, in my opinion, to become Championship quality. Saying that, the board still just want us to give it a good go but still get relegated, but the game has made us feel a little bit better about ourselves. No longer are we rock bottom, we're now 100 to 1 odds, still expected to go down mind you, but at least it's not as bad as it was before. But either way, we know that we can prove doubters wrong. We did it last season, and that was with a bottom place prediction, so now that we're predicted third bottom, maybe that means we can get higher mid-table. Now, in an ideal world, this rebuild would have been us jumping to the Championship by winning League One, then winning the Championship, and, you know, eventually getting Champions League football in only 5 years at Wrexham. Now, I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's the way this save is going to go, but I definitely think we are seeing progress as we go with this club. And that was probably highlighted most in this game against Coventry away this year, where we really showed everything we've worked on over these seasons, managing to get a great victory as Paul Mullin scored the opener. Ola Adebomi was then able to make it too, and it wasn't long before he was able able to add another goal, Paul Mullin bringing the ball down and finding his strike partner, and some great interplay allowed us to secure the hat-trick for Adebomi, who managed to take it onto his left foot, strike it hard and get us a brilliant win. And that was just one example of many great victories that we've had this season, which has led to our best season yet for sure, as we have finished in 7th place, just outside the playoff spots, 4 points mind you. It's a lot in the Championship, but it shows that we can compete, doing better than Sheffield United, Stoke, Luton amongst many others, and finishing with 20 wins, 13 losses and 13 draws. 25 goal difference is excellent as well for the position we finished in, and it shows the way that we're going. Now granted, we're not as good as some of those teams ahead of us, but it is a great year for us to have, and now we can really build on this. And I think playoffs could be on the horizon next season if we keep up this progress. We know though in Football Manager, it doesn't always go to plan, but this season we have really seen who we can rely on. Paul Mullin still going strong, in fact getting better for us as he now scores 24 goals this year, and Olo Adebomi continues to get better. He's now 23, valued at 30 million, and will do very well to hold on to him after 26 goals. Bolton, Okonkwo and Dylan Williams all doing well too, and even our first academy player coming through in Jake Mahoney, who could go right to the very top. At the same time as well, speaking of academy, we have been developing the facilities at the club here as well. Yes, the youth facilities have fallen behind a little bit, but everything else is in a very good place. We are managing to make the training facilities better, the finances are looking good, and we're trying to make Wrexham a club that can stay here sustainably for the foreseeable future. But of course, we don't really just want to stay here, we want to make the Prem, and in Season 4, if we're going to do that, we need some new players. And this is where the fun begins. In Season 4, we've gone from transfer windows in previous years worth around 2 million quid to this mega transfer window now where over 20 million pounds worth of transfers went ahead. And I think our team has radically changed. Before we see it though, this is the last time I will ask you, if you haven't yet liked the video, please do so. If you've watched it to this point, hopefully you're enjoying it enough to do that. So big thank you to you guys, but let's go and check out, firstly, who we sold. Paul Nardi is the first one to move. He goes to Real Vallecano after a couple of years as our backup goalkeeper, moving for 27k. I've moved on youngster Josh Adam too. The Scot looked like a player that could go really far with us, but never really developed, so he's moved to St Johnstone for 300,000. Pelirudder Campanzu has moved on already after only 1 year, signing for Cordoba out in Spain for 400,000 after a good year for us to be honest, but he wasn't starting as much as he wanted, so he wanted out. Troost-Ekong also leaves after only 1 season. He's gone to playing for Ferencvárosi out in Hungary for 1 million quid. He was never present for us last season, but we have now improved, so we were able to let him go this year. But then the big sales. This was the 3rd biggest in this window and is already a record breaker for Wrexham. Lewis Brunt has left us to go and play for Birmingham, the team that have been following us really for this whole rebuild. £5 million is the fee that we've got for him. I mean, he is a great player. He's been getting better and better, and now we've sold him on. Our goalkeeper, Arthur Okonkwo, was a real gutting one to lose. He's gone to play for Freiburg in the Bundesliga. Now, he had 1 year left on his deal, and because of that, I wanted to extend it, or we were going to lose him for free, but he didn't want to extend unless it was £50,000, which is nearly double some of our best paid players, and I thought, you know what, I can't justify that, let's move him on. So he goes for 7.5 million, a shame to lose him for a fee less than what we probably could have done, but as you can tell, he wants a big contract, and seemingly he's earned it. But our biggest sale of all is one that I think we've done great with. Ademola Ola Adebomi has moved to Bristol City for 13 mil. We signed him for 300k 2 years ago, he's improved with us, he's got better, he's scored goals, and now he moves to Bristol City, which for me is a step down, but realistically looking at him, he is a replaceable player. He's not exactly world class, and that is a ton of money for what we're looking at here that I could now use to reinvest in our team and bring in some new players, which I certainly did. Let's run through them. Kusanov of Man City was our first one. What a signing. The Uzbekistanian international, who had a bit of a worrying debut against Chelsea, has got better for City in real life, but in game, joined City clearly not at that level yet. Did get loaned out a little bit, but wasn't good enough, so they let him go. He obviously isn't rated as good as he is in real life here, but I'm not going to complain. He's a great one for us to pick up. As is Aaron Morley, the 27-year-old Englishman, formerly of Rochdale, Bolton and Wickham, has been having a great career so far, and now we've brought him to Wrexham to hopefully take that step up even further. He's ready for it. He's a great talent, and to get him for free is a brilliant addition to the midfield. There's our new number 2 goalkeeper in Sol Bryn, who replaces the Frenchman that we lost. We bought him on a free after he'd left Swansea. But our new actual number 1 to replace Nkonkwo is going to be Etienne Green, the 27-year-old Englishman who's been playing out in France for St Etienne, moved to Burnley and never really got the chance there. So we've paid 600k for him for what I think is a good goalkeeper. Is he quite what we had? No, but he's got the potential to get better still. I then spent just over £1 million on Nectar Triantis, an Australian 24-year-old who in real life is doing great for Hibernian. In game though, he got picked up by Ipswich Town for £15 million. Played pretty well for them in the Premier League and the Championship, but not often enough, so he wanted to leave, and then we came for a bargain 1.2 mil. There's a new striker on the block as well to replace the one that we sold for mega money. It's Norman Basset. He's a Belgian 22-year-old under 21 international who scored 10 in 18 for his country. He's joined for 2.7 million. The Coventry and former Cien man has done really well for Beerschot out in Belgium, and we're hoping that will translate to the Championship. And then I was able to sign Renato Viega, who in real life, of course, Chelsea picked up, loaned to Juventus, and looks pretty good. In game though, Chelsea picked him up, loaned him to Juventus. He didn't look very good, and then got loaned to Switzerland, only to never play for a couple of years, get transfer listed in Wycombe, 3.5 million, and I think we've got a great option here for the midfield, for centre-back, wherever we need him. And just like that, this Wrexham side looks absolutely stacked. Now, Solbrin for me isn't the best goalkeeper, it's Etienne Green, but this is what is considered by the game as our best 11. Negru, Kusanov and Grant make up the defence, with Bolton and Williams in the wing-back slots, Viega and Morley in that central midfield area, with Elliot Lee, Paul Mullin and Bassett still up top. Now, maybe I'm being too sentimental keeping Paul Mullin up there, but he has been scoring goals after goals, so we've got to keep trusting him. Elliot Lee is a player that I might not want to rely upon long term, and clearly there's not much depth in this squad either, and that's something we need to work on going forward. But I'm hoping this team will be good enough. In fact, we've added so much star quality this year. The board now want us to get mid-table as a minimum, and the game thinks we're going to finish 23rd. We've somehow gone down. Explain that to me. I don't know. But you know what? We've proven them wrong before. We'll prove them wrong again. We are going for promotion. And in Season 4, it finally all came together. Our team started clicking the way we knew it could. We managed to cut out some of those errors, and we had a brilliant year, finishing in 4th place in the Championship. And if you know how that works, that means we were in the playoffs. Our first opponent in the competition was Millwall, who went away to first, and Viega got us off to a flyer. And to help give us an even better advantage, in the 70th minute, captain Paul Mullin was able to find Williams into Bassett, who scored to make it 2. Back we went to our stadium with that 2-0 advantage, which was quickly cut out as Millwall were able to get 1. But as the game drew on, we managed to stay in it, keep that lead, and eventually we managed to secure the playoff final place, with Guai scoring a brilliant finish to get us the win. And that set up a playoff final, and if there was any club that have followed us throughout this whole rebuild so far, it's Birmingham, so it's only fitting that the club that are trying to get promoted as quick as we are were our opponents in what was the decider of who makes the Premier League. Now, based on the media predictions you've been seeing, Birmingham are considered a much better team than us, and they proved that early on, making it 1-0, before heartbreakingly they were able to make it 2, with a 2-0 lead at Wembley going into half-time. And that was the score all the way until the 75th minute, where we picked up the ball, managed to drive forward, the ball came pretty nicely to Bassett, who finished and gave us a chance. And just as it looked like time was running out, with 90 minutes on the clock, a ball came into the area, Revan was able to pick it up, it got kind of played around the box a little bit strangely, and we managed to score. So extra time was looming with the scores level, but we didn't want extra time, and in the 93rd minute, Grant into Morley on the edge of the area, what a strike, what a goal. We were going to the Premier League in what was an insane final playoff match, and now, I mean, we've got to try and stay up, which might be very, very tough, because as good as Paul Mullin is, he's now scoring less and he's getting older, and the Premier League will be a big step up for him. Etienne Green did well in goal, but outside of those guys, there's no real star performer. I mean, Bassett was great with 22 goals, but in terms of overall ability, maybe wasn't amazing. Revan was good. I mean, Rico Richards was great as well with 15 goals in the attacking midfield spot. Let's give him some credit, considering where we originally signed him from, not expecting much of him. But I think we need more depth if we want to survive in the Prem. We need a lot more quality. Some of these guys will move on and we're going to have to go for it, but thankfully we've got the budgets to do so. The Premier League money is here, 30 million quid, 250 grand a wage budget. The club is in a brilliant position in terms of facilities too. We'll have to improve the stadium, and financially it's looking pretty good, but this is where the real challenge begins. We've made it to the Prem, but it's going to be so hard to stay up, and we're going to have to make some real good transfers if we want to make it happen. Now, I mentioned we were going to need some reinforcements if we were going to survive in the Prem. And I think we might have just about done it. I mean, we've definitely made reinforcements. Whether they're good enough is another question. Let's say goodbye to some players first, though, as Guai has left us to go and play for Frosinone for a very small fee of 190k. Deli Bashiru also has moved on, going back to Turkey for a fee of 2.5 million, having not played much for us or even scored a goal. And the youngster that I mentioned earlier is going to the top in Jake Mahoney. Might not quite be at that level anymore. He's gone out on loan to Bradford City to hopefully find his feet. Coming in though, we had a bunch of players. The first one was a free agent. Seung Ho is his name. He's a South Korean international, 31 years of age, who's played for Norwich and Birmingham, as well as Barcelona, where he originally came through. He's a great option in the midfield by the looks of it, and hopefully will give us a bit of extra quality. We've added some right wing back depth with the signing of Rodrigo Gomez, a 25-year-old Portuguese right wing back we've picked up from 675k from Wolves. This would be a huge coup in real life. In game, it's a little bit different. Morgan Rogers has signed for Wrexham for 2.4 million because Villa didn't really use him the way that they did in real life. I mean, he played 3 starter games in his first year and never really got the opportunity after them. So in the transfer list he was, and we've bought him in. Jacob Greaves has signed from Everton to give us some extra quality at centre-back. £3.2 million is the fee for the former Hull and Ipswich Town man. Chelsea's Mark Guiu was our next signing. The 22-year-old Spaniard wants some first-team football, and we have given it to him, costing us 4.4 million. The former Barca man is a good talent, particularly for the Spanish under-21 team, and we want to see that replicated for us. Valentin Barco is going to be an excellent addition at left wing back. The Argentinian international 24-year-old is a Brighton player. I think in real life he made a move to Strasbourg, but that wasn't reflected in whatever transfer update I've got here. Either way, 6 million quid is what we paid for him from Brighton, and I think he's going to be a great option at left wing back. And then there's my biggest signing, Fabio Chiarodia. I really needed someone else in this number 6 spot. Couldn't really find anyone until he came up. A 23-year-old German, signed by West Ham but never really given the chance, was great in the Championship. Our scouts liked him, so I thought, you know what, let's go for it, let's spend the money and give ourselves the best chance of surviving as we possibly could. The question then though is this a Premier League survival ready team? And looking at it, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I wouldn't say so, but this core of players has been around together so long that maybe it is. Etienne Green is great in goal. Negru has been here since the first season and just a real stalwart in our defence. Treantes is a good defender, as is Chiarodia. There's Gomez, Williams, Rogers, Guiu. We've also got Greaves, Mullin still here, of course, Barco. Plenty of great options, but saying that, I have seen the media preview of what they expect from us, and it's probably the worst I've ever seen. The board want us to fight bravely against relegation. We know what that means, but the game itself thinks we're going to finish rock bottom with double the odds of winning the title of a team that are in 19th. So Sheffield United are already considered, you know, would never happen win the title, 500 to 1 odds. We're 1,000 to 1 odds, which shows you just how far away we are from staying up. I mean, Crystal Palace are 250 to 1, a huge difference really for us. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a tough time to try and stay up. This may be our first ever relegation and rebuild. If it happens, I'll still hold my hands up and say we've done a good job. But let's see what we can do in our 5th and final year. And this was maybe one of the worst seasons I've ever had in a rebuild, I'll be totally honest with you. We got battered pretty much everywhere we went. 38 games played, 24 losses is what we got. And there was only a few good results out there. We managed to get a late season win against Nottingham Forest with Kusanov scoring. And our best result was undoubtedly against Arsenal at the Emirates, where we performed brilliantly, managing to get a 3-0 win. Now that Arsenal result was with a few games to go, and at that point we were pretty much dead set for relegation, but having won that, we managed to creep outside of the relegation zone. In 17th place, Crystal Palace were right behind us, and as it came down to the final day of the season, we had 1 point on them, and we had to make sure we were the team that was going to stay up. So this was in our hands, but unfortunately, we played Leicester, and we lost 1-0. So that meant we were now relying on Crystal Palace not winning, and they were playing a home match against Newcastle, who didn't really have anything to play for. And unfortunately, Crystal Palace managed to get the goal. Amad Diallo, in that winger position, managed to score and put Crystal Palace 1-0 up. So we were getting relegated until the 82nd minute when Matthias Arezzo brought the ball down, made it 1-1, meaning Palace only got a point. And that meant we were able to survive on goal difference by 2 goals. 32 points is what we survived on. Actually not a bad points total. Bournemouth and Sheffield United were terrible, but how we managed to survive is beyond me. I kind of had given up. As you can tell, we lost 24 games, way more than Palace's 20. We just won a couple more. They drew 11, mind you. And yeah, I mean, just an incredible turn of events, really. Now, we did beat Palace a couple months before the end of the season, which was really a game changer for us, but Yeah, I mean, thank God Newcastle scored that goal. They kept us in the Premier League, and that means we finished this rebuild as a Premier League club. Now, if you guys want to continue this on Patreon, I'd love to see how far you could take the team. I think we've got a good young squad, but you guys need to take it further for me. We've got good facilities as well now at the club. We are still working on them, and financially, the club is in a very good place. This season as well, what was great to see is lots of the new players coming in and doing a good job, like Jacob Greaves, Morgan Rogers, and Gomez, but still, our best two players, the goalkeeper, Etienne Green, who kept us in the Prem, and Paul Mullin, who scored 9 goals. He's been here since the start. He's now 34. He's still going until the end of his season. Up to you guys if you want to continue his contract. He scored Premier League goals. I don't know how he did it, but he did. He's going down as a Wrexham icon. Unfortunately, not good enough to make the Legends list apparently, but I certainly think he would be. But there we go. That is this rebuild complete. If you have enjoyed, smash the like button, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.